Hello everyone, I am the Lore Explorer, and this is Outer Wilds, a game with a handcrafted solar system, with each location having significant meaning and placed there for a reason. So in today's loop, I'm going to continue to do my best impression of a documentary for the Timber Hearth system, an overall Earth-like planet, which also serves as a sort of safe haven for life in its solar system. From pole to pole, Timber Hearth is about 276 meters and is traveling in its orbit 9 kilometers away from the sun, whizzing around it at about 216 meters per second. It's mainly a rocky planet that really mimics Earth a lot, having actual dirt and rivers and flowers and forests and you name it. It's actually a pretty diverse planet. It also has a constant companion traveling with it on its journey. The Attlerock is Timber Hearth's moon, which is tidally locked to its parent body. The word Attlerock means mining rubbish or refuse consisting of broken up rock which holds little to no ore. If I had to take a guess, the Attlerock formed after a giant collision from a meteor hit Timber Hearth, and it's a result of one of the many craters we see scattered across Timber Hearth's surface today. And since it was mostly the surface of the planet, the Attlerock holds little useful metals or materials to the Hearthian, earning the moon its name. But that doesn't mean it doesn't hold anything of interest. In fact, the Attlerock is home to one of the Hearthian's national treasures, even though everyone in the crater sort of forgets about them. Esker is the ultimate Outer Wilds explorer, if you ask me, being the only Hearthian to actually set up a freaking house to live in at their new location. And it's actually a pretty nice one at that, with lights and built-in plumbing and everything. They've even grown emergency trees around their house so they don't even need to wear their spacesuit anymore. And Esker has a stash of food, water, and sap wine enough to live a lifetime, heck, maybe even 2. All in all, Esker's cabin is a nice place to waste your time. Watching the solar system on the back patio of Esker's porch with the pretty potted flowers is just a nice way to live life. Our kind Moon Man has also constructed a signal scope platform on the north pole of the Attlerock that they sort of use to, well, spy on people? But despite its more used purpose, it also serves as an excellent place to listen to the music the other travelers are playing all throughout the solar system, as well as a great place to planet watch. On what the Hearthians may call the dark side of the Attlerock is home to an impressive sight. An impact crater caused by a remnant piece of ice from the planet Dark Bramble destroyed. The crater is so deep, it's kind of like equivalent to digging a quarter of your way through the whole thing. It's almost as if an anglerfish thought the moon was cheese and kind of took a massive bite out of it. But anyway you look at it, it's a really awesome sight to see. And I guess Timber Hearth is pretty lucky that they didn't end up with another giant crater on their surface. No true Hearthian visits the Attlerock and doesn't go see the Outer Wilds Adventurers flag planted by Feldspar on the Hearthian's first flight to the Attlerock. And right after that, they usually pop on over to get a chuckle out of the giant heap of scrap that used to be Esker's spaceship sitting nearby. Though if I had to take a guess, I'd say it's probably more Slate's fault than Esker's. The last interesting location we find on Timber Hearth's satellite is a Nomai ruin named the Signal Locator, an instrument built to locate the eye of the universe by searching for auditory signals emitted by it. It's able to let you hear the goings-ons of multiple planets as well as the sun, but sadly, it fails when attempting to locate the eye of the universe. While exploring this scientific instrument, we can find a set of stairs leading down to a floor below. Likely dug out of the Attlerock itself, lies a nice Nomai room with benches and plants all throughout. We can also find a Nomai whiteboard and one scroll wall, along with a log from our species' local scaredy cat, Rebik. Looking back at the stairs reveals that Nomai decided to build walls with windows, allowing us to see what's directly underneath the Signal Locator. Inside, we can see a strange array of metals. This may just be a design to make it look cool, or it may be the actual mechanisms of the machine above. Sadly, there are no Nomai around to ask, so there's no real way to know. But with that, we've turned over just about everything we can on the Attlerock. Luckily, Timber Hearth is a planet full of cool stuff as well. A planet covered in waterways, with giant geysers flinging that water to the edges of space. These could be acting as giant natural sprinkler systems, which may explain why life is so common on Timber Hearth. Though the geysers are mostly just used as convenient trash cans by the local species, they actually contain a neat underground waterway connecting almost the entire planet. If they don't already know about it, I'd bet the Hearthian children would love riding through these waterways, despite the obvious dangerous possibilities of being shot up to space height or needing the spacesuits to even breathe under the water to begin with. But somehow, I doubt that would scare any of them off at all, and probably just egg them on. There are also many craters on the surface, which tells us a story of a heavily bombarded planet. One crater in particular, called the Quantum Grove, is very relaxing. A river leads down to a lake that sits in the middle of a grove of trees, and in the middle of that lake is usually a small rock island you can stand on to relax. Though due to a quantum shard being nearby, it and other things may just go ahead and move around on you. So keep an eye on that little rock island, cause it might just turn into a geyser and dunk ya. This shard, though, is what made Gabbro choose this location for their quantum poem. A poem with 4 lines about some ancient glade that we've never seen. The interesting bit is, every time we stop observing the poem and its quantum nature allows it to move location, the lines in the poem also change order. So just about every time you see the poem, it'll read different than the last time you read it. The poem and the quantum fireflies here give the crater a bit of a mystical feel, but most Hearthians agree it's a really nice place to be. A new addition to Timber Hearth has recently come hurtling through the atmosphere into an already established crater. Just on the north pole of the planet, a dark bramble seed came crashing down, knocking over most of the nearby trees. The seed has instantly put down its roots deep into the planet, and it's only going to grow from here. This sight immediately strikes fear into any Hearthian with an ounce of brain. But dang, does it kinda look cool. Just by looking at the surface of the planet, it's hard to tell that the Nomai actually had a large presence here. The only hint we get at this is on the surface of the planet, where the small transporter pad connected to the tower on Ash Twin sits smack dab on the surface. Luckily, this teleporter is located right next to a giant crater with a series of Nomai archways leading into it. Heading into the giant crater shows us some tattered remnants of a bridge, and below this bridge, we see a unique mural of 2 Nomai who landed in a shuttle that made their way towards this waterfall. Interestingly, they have different color suits on, and I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this. This would likely either indicate Nomai old enough to have the original suits and Nomai young enough to need new ones, or the 2 separate groups of Nomai that were split up and got reunited being symbolized by 2 different colors. It's hard for me to say, so let me know what you guys think about that in the comments. Back on the bridge, we see that it actually leads to the giant waterfall that we saw in the mural. Following it and passing through the waterfall leads us to what seems to be a Nomai landing pad with no gravwell, or just a fancy bridge ensuring that the 4 geysers below don't shoot you off into space while crossing the bridge. On the other side of the walkway is a door that leads us to a Nomai mine called Mining Site 2B. The Nomai chose this site after one of their initial chosen sites was found to have an aquatic life form in it, but leave it to the Nomai to make a marvel out of a mine. A cavern almost 100 meters tall with enough walkways built to go all the way around the inner wall. The mining is done with holes in the ore so large that we could probably go in 4 Hearthians wide, and there are probably hundreds of these holes as well. Interestingly, these holes are seriously like the same exact size as the Nomai gravwells, and the Nomai were a genius species. It looks to me as if they did all of the mining here with the gravwell, since it seems like the horizontal shaft can move vertically and rotate, allowing it to point to any location in the mine. At the very least, they used a giant gravity well here to lift the ore from ground level up to a platform where they can box it and ship it wherever they want to. We can also find a Nomai whiteboard, a projection pole, as well as a communication board here as well. For something as simple as a mine, the Nomai still make it a sight to behold and wonder about. Though the Hearthians don't know about that mine, the crowning jewel of Timber Hearth would still be what the Hearthians call the crater if they had. Not one of the 5 or so huge craters on the planet, but the crater, the one and only home to the Hearthian village. A single crater, the Hearthians constructed an entire village inside, as well as a space program. In fact, almost everything the Hearthians have ever built has been inside this crater. They do have a few platforms like tacked onto trees and other craters, but you won't find a single full Hearthian building anywhere else on this planet, which is why every Hearthian is more than happy just to simply refer to it as the crater. The crater has many cute little log cabin homes which vary in size, but they all seem to have like solar power and plumbing connections, and they're all pretty nice. The town even has a water wheel in the village, which they may use to power some of the town, but I think they use it to power a lumber mill of sorts right next to it, as we find a lumber elevator right behind it, and also Marl, the tree keeper of the town, is standing right in front of the building next to the water wheel. The Hearthians also have a pretty unique mine that almost rivals the one that the Nomites have that we just visited. Actually, it sorta does. It literally goes all the way to the core of the planet and creates what the Hearthians call the Zero-G Cave. Inside this cave, we can float around weightless, since the forces that normally pull you towards the core of the planet now pull you outwards equally from all sides. And not only is it fun to just play and float around in this zero-G environment, it's also the perfect place for the future astronauts to come and train in a zero-G environment to get used to space. Which is very useful because, as I've mentioned, the crater has been retrofitted to become a spaceport as well. The shell of a huge ancient tree now acts as the base for a launch pad fully fit with fuel lines and spare tanks to make sure each ship is topped off just before flight. The tree is so tall that we need to take an elevator to reach the launch pad. Inside this massive hollow tree, just below the launch pad, is a spaceflight museum of sorts. And at its entrance is a screen connected to the shutter satellite the Hearthians have orbiting Timber Hearth, allowing us to watch a live feed of the satellite's camera called Postcards from Orbit. It also houses the seat of Feldspar's ship for the Hearthians' inaugural flight to space, which is the last piece of that spaceship that now remains. Now, whether that's due to old age, repurposing of parts and materials, or just the simple fact that the pilot was Feldspar, I'm not sure. But either way, it's a pretty cool piece of history to be able to see. Throughout the room, we can find tools or models that the Outer Wilds adventurers use to get the job done while out exploring space. Everything from a model ship and jetpack to a can of marshmallows. They really do have it all here. Honestly, if I were a Hearthian kid, this is where I'd likely spend most of my time pretending that this signal scope actually worked. But this museum sort of pales in comparison to the massive observatory the Hearthians seem to pride themselves on. While the observatory does house a massive telescope, it also serves as a museum to showcase the archaeological and scientific finds of the Outer Wilds adventurers. From exhibits showing the tidal effects from the Attlerock, all the way down to an entire Nomai skeleton, the Hearthians really seem to put a lot of effort into this place. Anything new the Hearthians found while exploring or come to understand through study seems to get its own addition to the museum as soon as possible. The latest addition is a fully intact Nomai statue that everybody has come to wonder at. Probably. They were even lucky enough to find a baby anglerfish attached to the landing legs of one of the ships that flew past Dark Bramble. Photos of interesting locations decorate the walls, but my favorite has to be the portrait of the original founders of the Outer Wilds Adventurers. Though it seems Esker was absent for picture day, we at least see their name written here as an afterthought. It may even be written by them, but I guess it's better than nothing. The upper floor of the museum is set aside for the telescope. It has a set of computers that likely run the whole thing, but I'm guessing they also have some control of their launch pad from here as well. On the wall is an image taken by the telescope which shows many different lights coming in all different shapes, colors, and orientations. This image is what allowed Hornfels to figure out that all of these lights aren't just other suns, but rather entire galaxies, which promptly caused them to seek out a chair. In the center of the room is a scale solar system model with orbit lines carved into a tree stump. Inside the stump must be mechanisms that actually allow the scale planets to move along in their orbit and follow the actual real-world counterpart, which was likely installed to help the person using the telescope be able to locate the planet wherever it is. Now, I'm not entirely sure how, but we can interact with this scale solar system model to see an actual map view of our solar system. After exploring the museum for a while, you can tell that this place is definitely the heart and soul of the Hearthian species. So much time and effort has been spent building this museum and the knowledge base required for the information that it holds. It really is something the Hearthians can be proud of, and somewhere I could likely spend hours in if it were real. But with that, I've covered about just everything that I can think of for Timber Hearth as well. As I mentioned, there are other craters, and some of them even have like platforms built into trees, but they aren't really unique enough for me to go visit them all. Personally, I think Timber Hearth is my favorite planet out of the bunch. In such a wild solar system where almost every planet has a mechanism that can kill you, it's nice to have a safe haven where we can just come to relax and not die unless we just like jump into a geyser and not care about it. The beauty of the green and blue planet just can't be matched anywhere else in the solar system. It really is hard to choose a favorite planet since all of them in the game are just awesome in their own right. But Timber Hearth just feels like home to me. I hope you all enjoyed the video and it gave you a sense of visiting Timber Hearth again. I'm really enjoying making this series since it's giving me an excuse to go back and revisit just about every location in the game. A special thank you to the members here on this channel, who essentially act as a sponsor for every video and allow me to do cool things like the recent giveaway. If you'd like to support the channel by becoming a member, you can click the join button below. At any level of membership, it unlocks special roles in the Discord as well as some special content on the channel here like VODs of past live streams. As always, this is a lore explorer diving deep into each planet so you can pop back and visit them whenever you like, wherever you like. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you in the next one.